Welcome back. We're looking at Osama bin Laden's private life through the eyes of his first wife and son who've started speaking out. My guest is New York Times best-selling author Jean Sasson, who along with Najwa and Omar bin Laden co-authored Growing Up Bin Laden. Osama's wife and son take us inside their secret world. Let's get a couple of questions in here on the phone. We've got Mohammed, who's been standing by patiently in London. Mohammed, go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Hello,
Thanks
Mohammed.
for a great program and your special guest.
Thank you.
I'm calling from London. I always had that question after I saw his book. And how come you're not getting any help from Omar bin Laden? He doesn't give any hint on his dad's location, so American or British people, British Army can find him.
Okay, okay, Mohammed, I'm going to ask for one more question also from another Mohammed, this time in South Africa. Mohammed in South Africa, your question, please.
Chris, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Hello, Mohammed.
I've got two questions for you. The first question is Omar and his mom under surveillance or under protection at the moment from Secret Service?
Okay.
My second question is, this book has come out at a time now when the world is going through a lot of problems. Omar himself, the way he dresses and his lifestyle, isn't that against everything that the Taliban hated and Al-Qaeda itself?
Okay, interesting. Now, let me get to the first two questions here, Jean. First, Mohammed in London was asking about using Omar to get help to find his father, as the West has been trying to do.
Yeah.
And then, is the family under surveillance?
Well, Omar does not know where his father is, so he would not be able to help anyone. He has not seen his father since the summer of 2001. And like he says to me, people who have security devices searching for my father can't find him. How do they think I could find him? So absolutely cannot. And as far as Najwa and Omar being under any kind of security, no, they are not. They're living their life fairly normally.
The second part of the question, we touched on that a little bit earlier on in the show, but the fact that Omar's lifestyle and the way he dresses goes against everything that the Taliban, advocate against. So, I mean, does he ever comment on that, his lifestyle, the way he dresses, the way he looks?
No, he's really not said anything other than he just lives his life normally in the way he wants to. He's certainly a very devout Muslim, and he's a very strong believer in God, and so he lives a very good life. He lives a clean life, but he chooses to dress very snappy and smart. So I guess that's good for him, whatever makes him happy on that. But it has nothing to do with the Taliban. He's not a big fan of the Taliban. So
let me get another quote from your book where you talk about Osama bin Laden describing America's relationship with Israel, and he describes it as a bicycle with two wheels, the USA being a wooden wheel and Israel being a stronger steel wheel, and says that the stronger wheel, sorry, the weaker wheel has to be attacked first. This is what the book says, and this is what Osama bin Laden was saying. The Americans are weak. First, we obliterate America. By that, I don't mean militarily. We can destroy America from within by making it economically weak until its markets collapse. When that happens, they will have no interest in supplying Israel with arms, for they will not have extra funds to do so. At that time, the steel wheel will corrode and be destroyed by lack of attention. That's what we did with Russia. Interestingly enough, I wonder to what degree, when Omar looks at this and his father's technique, looking at the state the West has ended up in financially, I wonder if he feels his father was something of a visionary with what was happening.
well, that's not a question I've ever asked him, to tell you the truth, so I really can't speak for him on that. But the story that Osama told him, the wheel story, I found was very interesting, the concept, and like you in particular, the things that have happened since then, because certainly 9/11 had a huge, not only a horrible impact with people killed and maimed, but it also had a very big economic impact.
Now, in terms of the way Osama bin Laden was as a father to his sons, it's quite interesting reading how strict he was. I mean, the fact he would count the number of teeth when they smiled to make sure they weren't overdoing it, you know, with joy, and he wouldn't give them medicines because he said the Prophet Muhammad didn't have any medicines, and the kids were all asthmatic as well. What were the more sort of, you know, bizarre stories you heard like that from the family?
Well, I thought one of the more bizarre ones was taking them out to the desert and digging holes and making all the family, including the small children and the women, lay in the holes and learn to sleep without any blanket or anything. He was trying to toughen up his whole family. He thought the day would come when there would be all-out war. So that was very interesting to me too when they would tell me these stories, and both of them confirmed it. And also I thought that the life of the boys, more than the girls, he sort of left the life of the girls up to the mothers, so he was not as big of influence in that on that point. But I felt so sorry for the boys. It seemed to me, and this is just an outsider looking in who's been talking to Omar for a very long time now, I felt the life was so joyless for those children, and he wouldn't let them go out and play with other kids. They live such a strict life, and children are bubbling with happiness and joy and want to play and just have a good time, and they were not allowed toys, and everything was quite bleak and stern. But on the other hand, even though he did not allow electricity and he was very firm about things like that in the household, I always thought it was such a conflict, or a little bit odd that he didn't apply that to the latest vehicles or to military hardware.
Jean, if you had like 30 seconds to describe what this book really tells us, what we've learned about Osama bin Laden from this book, what would it be?
I think we've learned how a man who started out as a conservative Saudi man very, very slowly evolved and came out on the other side as someone who can think of nothing but Islam and defending Islam, but doing it in a way that most Islamic scholars and people who are true believers would not agree with.
Well, Jean Sasson, thank you very much. The book is Growing Up Bin Laden, Osama's Wife and Son Take Us Inside Their Secret World. Thanks for talking about it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us with your questions too. Remember, you can catch the show on iTunes. This week's featured podcast is my discussion with Obama administration advisor Vali Nasser about the Middle East's rising middle class and how it may change the world. On the next show, Waging Peace, what are the basic principles of conflict resolution? We talk to the founder of the Conflict Resolution Study, Johan Galtung, and former UN mediator Alvaro de Soto about what it takes to make peace. Be sure to tune in for that. For now, from me and the team, goodbye. We'll see you next time.